Salt of the Earth Farm Stories is proudly brought to you by Grigg Media. From generations-old family farms to innovative sustainable practices, each episode offers a glimpse into the resilience, passion and dedication of Australian farmers and explores the profound connection between people and the land.
We continue on Ally's outback journey. This episode, we chat about her unwavering determination to follow her dreams despite the uncertainties and risks involved. Her resilience and perseverance shines through, demonstrating her strong sense of determination. We start this episode at Mataranka in the Territory, and I hit her up for some off-the-wall questions. And so today you're employed at a station near Mataranka?
Yes, so I'm at a station, Maroke Station, which is just outside of Mataranka. It's on the Roper River, which Dad was really happy about when I first said, because he's like, I know where the Roper River is and there's lots of barramundi in the Roper River. So he was happy with that. And that was the first question that he said was, oh, can I come fishing? And I was like, how about we just get there first and I meet the people and start working and then you might be able to come fishing. So yeah, but they're a family business, so I stepped away from the corporate side and went back to family. They're a couple with 4 boys, and I found the job through a friend of mine that I'd made up there, and she is the govie at the station. She said, oh yeah, they're looking for some help, and I was like, oh, that's great, because I know it's quite difficult to get back into the job like so late in the season. So a lot of them are finishing up soon, especially with the rain coming. So being able to find something was really great. And they are an awesome little family business. When I say little, it's still over like 500,000 acres. So there's still a fair bit of property there. And they estimate around 15,000 head of cattle. And the difference being that they're all Brahman cattle and are quite wild, so they don't know exactly how many they've got there, because at each buster they don't always get all of the animals, so they can only get a rough count on what they've got. But it's completely different to where I was in Alice in the way that they are so... I look at it, when I look at station work, I go, there's station work, which is what you do during the day and the work that you do, but then there's station life, and the station life is how enjoyable the work is, like being able to have fun and make mates and friends and all that kind of stuff, and the enjoyment that you do after work but also in work.
And then it becomes not a job so
exactly
much.
It's just the way of living and the way of life, and I think that Maroke is really good at that, and the way that the owners treat their workers and make sure that if we've had a long day, like the day before we've been fighting fires for a while, like they would said, oh, have a sleep in this morning and wake up at 12 and then we'll go and do some work after that. And I think just the way that they look after their staff and the staff want to be there and want to work for them is great. So
what would you call your job there?
I would say a station hand again, but just the way that we know what our jobs are, we know we have to get them done, but it's the way that we do the job and we have fun and there's always laughing and people are always... like if someone makes a mistake, it's not the end of the world. It's like, oh, you silly person, and we just fix it and have a go at it again. But like we go fishing after work, and even during work, like a lot of the bosses have a fishing rod in their car, and we might pull up somewhere and have lunch and go, oh, that's a nice little fishing hole. We'll just flip the rod around for a fish. So there's not really many places you can say that you go barramundi fishing in your lunch break. So but
you're living your dad's dream.
Exactly. Our dad always says that he's jealous that I'm doing it. So yeah.
So how many people work there?
There's 5 like station hands, and then the govie and then a cook. So the cook is a backpacker from France, which is pretty cool. So she likes to cook all the pastries and all that. So we have Smoko, who came back from Smoko the other day, and there was like freshly made crepes on the table, which was pretty cool.
Ellie.
And yeah, so she's awesome. And then there's a couple of Indigenous fellows that work for us as well. One of them's on the grader 24/7, grading roads and fire breaks on the property. And then there's another fella that works in the stock stock camp with us, he's pretty cool.
I want to know too, have you got a mentor there? Is it one of these guys?
They're all really great. Everyone is really good at teaching, which I love, because if I don't understand something, I always ask questions and they're always willing to teach me. I really enjoy being around the Aboriginal blokes because they have so much prior knowledge and background and the ways that they used to do it back in the day when there was none of this special equipment anymore. He always says like, oh, we just had a horse and that was it, and we used to just catch the cattle on horseback and there was no helicopters and nothing like that, and they used to use the tracks in the dirt to be able to find where the cattle were going and where they were doing all that, which is pretty cool. And even like when something breaks, like we call it bush mechanics, like we'll find a bit of stick or a bit of rope or wire to fix something, and they have so much knowledge that they're willing to teach you if you want to listen and learn. So yeah.
And you do some long shifts though some days?
Some days we've been fighting fires. Before I came back here for a quick holiday, we were fighting a pretty decent fire on the property that started from a spark from a grater on a rock. And we'd been fighting that for a bit over a week. We thought we had it under control, and then the wind changed and it just took it away.
How are you fighting that? What are you fighting it with?
Well, we have helicopters in the air that spot where the fire is going, because again, the property is very thick and a lot of bush and a lot of jungle, so you can't drive cars in there. So the chopper pilot would spot where the fire was or where it was heading, and then pick us up on the ground and drop us to the front of the fire. And we were literally using branches from the gum trees to whack out the fire.
You're joking.
So yeah, so we were just using that because obviously you can't get the cars in there to fight it. So we were in there like for hours just banging out this fire on the ground, and then we had to kind of backscale and then start back burning. So the graders would kind of grade a path that we thought the direction was going, and then we would burn on that graded path back into the fire. So when the fire front got to where the fire was, the fire that we had burnt, there's no fuel for it to burn. So in the think of it'll kind of die out and have no fuel for itself to burn, and it'll kind of burn back on itself. But we did it 3 or 4 days. We'd get up, we'd back burn, we'd watch the fire front get to it, and then it would literally just jump and it would hit the other side and take off again. And once it took off, we just couldn't stop it because it was so fast. Like in the way that it burnt was so fast.
Your mum sent me a video the other night of you in the chopper going out to the front of the fire.
Yeah.
Isn't it a bit scary?
A little bit, but it's kind of cool to see it up there at night time especially. It looks like a big city, like just all these little flames everywhere. And we could feel the heat of the fire on the bubble of the helicopter, which was pretty crazy. But to see, like, we would start a back burn, and for it to take off and burn as fast as it did in a couple of seconds was crazy. Yeah. And like to think of the poor people that do fight this for a living and can get stuck is so easily to see how it would happen so quickly, because something that is a little breeze where you're like, oh no, it's not going to go anywhere, and it just creates its own wind and takes off, and it's so unpredictable, and the flames are so high and so hot, and you just get stuck, and you're just like, well, there's not much I can do now. So, but the way that we did it and the way that they handled it, obviously fatigue was a big thing, because you don't want someone tired trying to fight a big fire when you're trying to concentrate. So being able to go, all right, the person that's fighting the fire out the window, the next person in the car is having a sleep for an hour while this person's back burning. Like, because the problem was the wind, and the wind wouldn't die down till about 2 a.m. So we would fight the fires all day, get home at about 5:30, have something to eat, go to bed, wake up at 12 in the morning, and then go back and back burn and fight all the way through the day. And there was a time where we were fighting the fires and there was not much we could do other than wait for the fire to get to us. And I remember curling up on the ground underneath the Toyota and just having a sleep for an hour while this fire's like coming to us, because you just get so tired, and where any spare minute you can get to just have a nap, even if it's a really uncomfortable position that you wake up and your neck's sore and you're like, probably shouldn't have slept like that. But yeah.
Do you tell your mum and dad about all this when it's happening?
Yeah, I just tell them the G version, and then after it's finished I might add in a few extra details of what actually happened. So yeah, we got it under control. And
it's under control now?
Yeah, it burnt a fair bit. We lost a fair bit of land, but the thing with the fires is it happens all the time, and for the land that it did burn, it probably did need burning because the grasses just go rank and there's not much that the cattle can eat. So for it to burn, and then when we do get the rain in the wet season, that's when you get all the new green growth from that burnt patch of grass, then all this new life just comes back. And it's so cool to see an area that was pitch black a week ago and then you get a week of rain and it's so green. So,
and it's sweeter, I guess.
Yeah, the cattle love it because it's green and sweet, and they get so much more from it than the dry rank grass that they have to eat so much of it to fill themselves up.
So a usual day out there, you'll go out mustering just for a day or more than one day?
Because of the size of the property, we do camp out a lot. So we'll take our swag and we'll head out bush, and we might be out there camping for anywhere between a week, 2 weeks, 10 days, whatever it is. But very simple living.
So swag,
esky full of nice cold drinks after a long day. Good. And just meat and veg that we eat, but all just campfire, no power, no electricity, no running water, there's no showers, but we managed to make, we call it a donkey. So it's a big tank of water that sits on top of a shed, and it's all just run down through gravity. So the water will be up at one end and it just feeds through a poly pipe into like this big drum, and we set light like a fire underneath the drum, and that's what heats the water up to a temperature, and then that's how we have our showers like at night time. Because it's the territory, I always opted for the cold shower because it was just too hot. Like even at night when you're in your swag, it's still 28, 30 degrees at night. So being nice, having clean-ish shower. So
you're standing out there in the outback, maybe a cold beer.
Yeah.
Under the shower.
Nice
Must be
beer.
nice.
Yes, lovely. And like the meals were great. Like they feed us really well. Pretty cool how much you cook at a campfire oven. We had pasta one night. We had like obviously steak and sausages and lots of stews, and we always are fed well, always fed well at night.
You need to be burning a lot of fuel during the day.
Yeah.
So tell me, when you're out mustering, you wake up at what time?
Daylight. So daylight is around 5:30. We'll get up, have a quick brekkie, coffee.
What's for brekkie?
We do bacon and eggs on the fire. I kind of opt out of the food in the mornings just because it's too early for my body to function. So a nice strong coffee and some water is good for me. Maybe an orange or an apple. And then, we're up at daylight, which is 6 o'clock, and the choppers take off because they can only fly at light. They can't fly at night. So we have to wait for them. They'll head off, locate the cattle, and then we kind of head off in their direction, and we just listen to them, and they just tell us where we need to go, and they kind of work in a grid pattern, the choppers. So they'll fly across the paddocks to get the cattle in one direction, and then we kind of pick up the stragglers. So they might radio to us, there's a cow underneath the tree and it won't move, you need to go and get it. So I'll get on my bike and I'll head over and get this cow away from the tree, because the problem with the cattle where I am is they're all Brahman cattle, so all Brahman breed, and they are just wild. So they hate people, they know what's going on, they're smart, they know that if they stay underneath this tree, this chopper pilot can't find me, I'm just going to stay here until all the motorbikes leave, and then I'll continue eating my grass over somewhere else. They're cranky, they don't like us. I like to call them the cracker cow, which is an old cow that knows exactly what it needs to do to stay away from us, and they try and eat you on the motorbike. Like they'll come for you on the motorbike, they'll chase after you in the yards. It's what I enjoy, because you always got the heart rate up and you're always running around and you always never know if this cow's going to be nice to me today or not. But so we kind of muster all of our cattle into the yards, and then they'll sit there overnight, and then we might take 4 or 5 days to process them and wean the calves off wean the weaners off the mums, and they'll find cows, like there might be bulls that are crook that can't do what they need to do, so they'll take them back to the house. There'll be fat cows that aren't producing calves, so they'll take them and sell them. And then if there's like a little calf that's too young to be weaned but they'll mark and process them there and send them back out with their mums, and then everything just gets turned back out into their paddock. But it's also a way for them to know how many numbers they've got, because they get a good count on what they've got there. And it's also a way to collect strangers, because obviously they border other properties, so you get cattle that don't belong to them that turn up in the muster, and we'll ring the neighbour and go, oh yeah, we've got 40 of your head sitting here, and they'll go, righto, thanks, and come and collect them. So
are these paddocks fenced, or is it?
They are, but they don't care.
With water. Yeah.
And we have a lot of buffalo in our area, and they're just big tanks that just walk straight through a fence, and it snaps in 2 seconds, and then they just keep walking. So yeah, we have a lot of crossover of animals. So yeah.
So what do they do with the buffalo?
We catch them because the problem with buffalo is like they live in like families. So you'll have maybe one bull and then like 4 or 5 cows with their calves, and they all like live in a little group. But when we muster a paddock, you get them accidentally come in with the mob. But buffalo are extremely aggressive, and they do not care if it's a car or a motorbike or a helicopter or a person standing in front of them. They'll just run straight through. So we try and get them out of the mob when we're mustering, so we don't really want them in the yards because they're really dangerous. Like there's been times where we might have accidentally got 1 or 2 in there, and as soon as you step foot in the yards with them, it's like all the cattle will just split in half, and this buffalo just comes running, and they know exactly how long their horns are and exactly where to get you or a cow where it's going to cause some damage. And so like there's been stories that the bosses have said how they've had cattle and buffalo in the yards together, and maybe an occasional donkey or horse that might get in there, wild horse, and they look over and there's a donkey flying through the air because the buffalo has just picked it up and just thrown it like as far as they can, because like you get this clash of animals where like the big bull might think, oh, I'm the big toughest thing here, and then you get this big buffalo with big horns, and it's like, no, I'm the toughest thing here, and they just fight all the time, and us little people standing in the road is like a matchstick compared to them. So they're so fast and so cranky, but we try and get rid of them, but they also sell them as well. They export buffalo overseas. There's a fella at the moment who is contracted to the station, and he's catching buffalo, and he uses our yards to hold them there, and then the truck will come once they've got enough and take them to Darwin, and then they'll get shipped overseas. So there's lots of different things that go on the station. It's not just our cattle and us. Like there's other groups working there and doing different things. Like you might have fencing contractors, or you might have water contractors that are there fixing troughs, and then you've got these contractors who are there catching buffalo, but we might not even see them because the property is so big. They're off doing their own thing somewhere else and using our yards, or a couple of people might stay at the quarters and you might say hello and meet them, but they're off doing their own thing. And so the buffalo is like another way of them making money, because obviously the contractors pay the owners of the property to contract and catch their animals. So
well, you stay away from them, Ally, please.
Yeah, they're good fun though.
You're scaring me more and more through this podcast, actually. Stay away.
Catching them is good fun. They're tough things, and to arm them in the buggies, like the old Toyotas that they use, that's like basically cut in half with a big arm on it, because they obviously
You've seen that too?
Yeah, and I've been in the buggy a few times when they do it, and I'm a hazer. So what I do is I kind of direct the buffalo to go towards the bull catcher, or the cow, or the rogue bull to go towards the bull catcher, and then he's in the bull catcher and arms them. Then the truck comes along to pick them up, because you get the old scrub bull, or the clean skin that's never been through the yards before, that just is big and cranky, and it won't want to walk with the rest of them. It wants to be difficult and run away. So we have to catch them and tie them up, and then we'll go and get them later. So, yeah.
Holy moly, you take care. You've also been known to jump on a grader and fix a few roads?
Yeah, no, that's what I like about it, is that you just get in and give everything a go, and they say, oh, have you done this before? And I'll be like, no, I haven't, but I'll be happy to learn to do it. And they're like, righto, and pop you in a grader or in a truck or on a motorbike or a lawnmower or something. Like, there's always something to do, and I think that's what's great about where I work, is that you get the people that want to teach you and want want you to learn, and if you give them the time and the effort and you do as you're told and you ask heaps of questions but do the right thing, they're willing to teach you. And I think that's what's great about the work that I do. So,
and we love that about you and your attitude, Ally, so well done. I phoned you during the week and I said, where are you, Al? And you said, I'm on a tram in Melbourne. How do you jump from the Northern Territory to the hustle and bustle of Melbourne? You're down there visiting your sister.
Yes. So my sister studies paramedicine and she's studying in Melbourne. And so I jumped on the train from home and headed down to Melbourne to go see what she does and where she works. And it's so different, like getting off the train, like especially even when I flew back from Darwin and getting off the train in Melbourne and all the people that are there and the noises and the smells and the sounds. And it's so different to where I'm from and where I've been working. And I just think, like, I look at it and I go, I don't know how people can live like that. I don't know how they can live on top of each other and everyone always knows your business and what you're doing. And it's like, I get a bit nervous when I'm sitting on a tram and I'm like shoulder to shoulder with someone else. But I think it's just the way that the world goes, and everyone, like, it's funny that people are sitting there on their phone and with their headphones in and going about their day-to-day thing, and they have no idea what anyone else is doing anywhere else. And I think that's crazy that we all live such different lives, that it's interesting, but it's also crazy that so much can go on in the world without people having any idea of what people do. And I think my sister and I are so very different in the sense that she loves Melbourne and she loves the city and the people and loves the fashion and being out and about, but I'd rather stick to myself and my own little workplace, my own little house, and but it's good to get out and see everyone and enjoy that. So,
all right, Elle, this is the fun part. We've got some off the wall questions. What initially drew you to this line of work and how you got started?
Well, I grew up on the farm at home, always was involved with Dad with the cattle and calves, and I just found it online. I found an advertisement for the Govey and I just jumped at it and did it, and I have never looked back since, and it was the best decision I made. So, yeah.
So you're out mustering of a night time, you're having a cold beer around the fire. Do you have a favourite campfire story? And don't worry, no one's listening. You can tell me.
There's lots. There's so many. Everyone's got a story. Everyone's got a conversation or something that they've did. We like to call it up there a nice bull yarn that we like to say. It's always, if someone tells you a bull yarn, it's probably the furthest from the truth of the story that it actually is. You just like to blow it up as big as you can. It was a huge bull. It was so fast. It ran away. It did all this. Everyone's got so many different stories, even just like where they've come from or what they did beforehand. So many stories. I couldn't name one off the top of my head. And I think the Northern Territory and working on stations is you can have your city kid from Brisbane that has never stepped foot anywhere near cattle, and you're sitting next to them at a fire and they've got so much to talk about that you wouldn't look at them and go, oh, you're a city kid from Brisbane. And no one judges you on where you've come from or what you've done. It's just being able to sit there without your phone and you have to talk to someone. And it's just, you learn so much about people and you enjoy being around people, like when you get to talk to them.
And in my line of work too, I always believe everyone's got a story to tell. Yep. And it's just a matter of taking the time, sitting down and chatting.
Exactly.
Okay, have you ever been lost in the outback in one of those big paddocks?
Yeah, plenty of times. The thing about mustering, especially under paddock, and the thing that the chopper pilots hate most is if you get in front of them. So you always have to have the helicopter in front of you. And there's been times where I've had my helmet on and it's very hard to hear what's going on, and you're driving in what you think is a straight line and you look down and you're so far from where you're supposed to be, and you just have to stop and take your helmet off and try and hear if you've got a helicopter in front of you or behind you. And there's been plenty of times where I've taken my helmet off and gone, that helicopter's way behind me. I'm way too far in front. I need to get back before I get yelled at as quick as I can. So I think I'm gotten pretty good at my orientation. I kind of, when we head out in the morning, I have my compass on my watch, and the helicopter pilots always go, oh, there's a cow southeast of you. And I kind of have to just sit there and think, okay, this is where I was this morning, this is where I am now. It's in that direction, like in that kind of sense. So, but everything looks the same. Like I'm like, oh, I think I passed that tree before, but I'm not too sure. So
you spend a lot of time on your own.
Yeah. Everything you do, like probably 80% of the time you are on your own. Wow. Yeah.
All right. Have you ever been bogged?
I haven't, but I know someone that was bogged before, and we had this thing, it was called a spot device. So it was because there's no service or anything like that where we were, and most of the time there is no radio, so like you're too far away for someone to pick up your radio. We had this spot device, and she was crossing a creek, and we were told that the creek was pretty sandy and you could get stuck, so make sure you just be careful. And she got stuck, and she said that she was sitting there and she was like, I don't want to press this spot device to say that I'm lost because it's embarrassing. And she was trying to get people on the radio, and she was outside on her hands and knees digging out the sand. And while she was doing it, the helicopter pilot flew over the top of her and saw that she was stuck and like landed the helicopter. And she said that he just like strolled over, got in the car, pressed a few buttons and got out really quick. And she said it was so embarrassing because he got out so easily, and she was just like stuck.
What are some of the biggest challenges of working in the outback?
One like big thing was the isolation, but that was at the beginning, it was difficult. Like it was super hard to be on my own, and after living with a family that everything's there for you, like we were really big family people, having all your grandparents and everyone around, to going to literally being on your own in the middle of nowhere. And at times there's no phone, like I can't just call mum if something's gone wrong, or call your best mate if you're stuck. You literally are on your own. And I think being so far away, I always was so worried about missing out on the important things like your birthdays and people's events like footy and netball grand finals. And that at the start, that was so hard for me to miss out on. But I think there's always ways of making it work, like this weekend coming home easily, like not easily, but just being able to fly home and here. And I think I'm lucky to have a family to come home to, whereas there's a lot of people out there that the reason why they've gone to start stations is because family is just not their thing, and they don't have anyone to go back to. But I think for me, having family and friends to come home to is always great.
Yeah, nice.
But another big challenge definitely for women in station environments, it's very, I've had experiences where, not nice experiences with being a woman in a man's world, I like to put it, because it is like, I understand that I am a woman, and I understand I'm not as big and strong as the blokes are, and I can't lift something as big and heavy as they have, or I haven't grown up in the station environment like a lot of them have, so my experience is not as much. But I always do my best, and I get so angry when someone says to me, oh, it's all right, I'll go do it, like, and not even give me the chance to go and prove myself that I can do it. And I remember there was one manager that sat us all down once and said to us that there was something, technical computer or a laptop or something that wasn't being charged properly, and something to do with our phones and doing it in the morning. And he said to us, oh, this would be a really good job for you girls to do, because you girls are thinkers and the boys are doers and lifters. And that's always stuck with me, because I know for a fact that I can get out there and I can give it as much as they can, and I will give it as much as they can. And I think I just think always having to prove yourself at times gets draining, like especially as a girl, having to prove yourself that you can do it, and that this is not just boys' work. Like there is things that girls can do that boys can't do, but I'm still going to give it my best and try as hard as I can. Yeah.
Well, I hope there's going to be more women and females in agriculture and in trade in general, and getting the respect that they deserve.
Yes. Yeah.
So the local community in the outback, how do people connect and support each other?
Rodeos and camp drafts are massive up north, especially in the dry season. Lots of different towns have different events like rodeos and camp drafts. Like Catherine have big rodeos. There's like the show days and stuff like that, that a lot of stations let their workers go to, because I think it's a great way to meet people. It's a great way to let your hair down for a couple of days and have a few drinks and connect. And like, they give us days off for a sleep in, but most of the times on rodeos and that, you're not really having a sleep in. They're big nights and they're good parties, and they're ways to connect with people and listen to music and dance. And I think that's what I love about it, is because it's not a club or a nightclub that you go to and you can't hear anyone talk. Like, you'll go and sit at the pub, or you'll go and sit at the rodeos and you'll sit down with people and talk and catch up, and it's a great way to let your hair down and have a relax and meet new people, which I think is great. And also you get to meet people that work on different stations, and you get to find out what their station life is like compared to what we're like. And it's also a great way to make connections and find possible new jobs and new careers. And yeah, it's good. Yeah.
What's the most surprising or unique thing you've learned about living and working in the outback?
I think like just having confidence in yourself and finding that things are hard, and it is hard to be isolated. It is hard to be away from your family, but there's also so much more to life than being on your phone and being so just what's everyone else doing all the time. Like, you don't need to know what else it's what you're doing and finding things that you yourself like and love. Like, what you do doesn't have to be the same as what everyone at home or at school's doing. Like, you go off after school and you do your own thing. And I think just disconnecting from all that and worrying about what other people think and just being you, I think that's the most interesting I found about the outback, is that you have to adjust and you have to put yourself out there and try new things and meet new people, and you have to have tough conversations with people. I think being able to mature, not quickly, but being able to mature and just realise what actually is important in life. It's not all about what people perceive you as, but just being your own self and making your own way and doing your own thing. So I think, yeah.
Ally, you're just about bringing a tear to my eye. These are the most powerful, beautiful words. It's so inspiring.
Yeah.
What skills and training are most crucial for someone wanting to become a stock person in the outback?
I think just you as your person and being able to be open to trying new things and to asking questions, and at times when you do get things wrong, okay, why did I get that wrong and what can I do next time to do better? Like, I know people that I've worked with that have literally finished school in year 12, seen something online about working in the country and have packed their bags and left and just moved out. And they've had no skills. They've never been around cattle before. They've never even ridden a motorbike before, but they were willing to just put everything aside and just go out there and do it. And they're great, and they do it well.
It doesn't have to be forever,
no,
does it?
No, it doesn't. And I think with working in the stations, like, people come and go all the time. Like, people change jobs, they change stations, they might go back to the city for a couple of weeks to live with their family for a couple of months, and then they come back again. Like, it doesn't have to be forever a thing, but it can be a forever thing. Like, I know plenty of people that find a station and love it and have been there for 3 or 4 years and they wouldn't do anything else. But then I know people that go to a station for a couple of months, go, yeah, no, this is not really me, and then go find somewhere else and do something else. So I think that's what's good about it, is that it's so versatile in the way that you can just do everything. Yeah.
What kinds of wildlife do you encounter?
Everything. No, there's just, like, especially where I'm at the moment, there's just, with the heat and the weather, like snakes and spiders and frogs, and it would be a weird day not to see a snake, and big venomous browns and black whip snakes, but also massive pythons. Like, we had one of the house dogs the other day get bailed up by a massive big python.
What are we talking, how big?
Like, he would have been at least 3 meters and just like thick, like huge. And he got into the dog pen and had to go at one of the dogs, and the dogs kind of scruffed him off. And like, there was big bite marks at his face, but like, he was just this huge olive python that was just looking for a feed. And yeah, it was just, there's so much wildlife, like crocodiles and buffalo, and what I love in the mornings, waking up in the swag, is just listening to the birds in the morning. Like, there's so many different birds.
Bushstone curlews?
There's curlews. Yeah, there is a couple of curlews. They're more north, up north a bit more. We didn't really get many down south in Alice, but we have, like in Alice, we had camels and donkeys because we're obviously on the desert, and just so much wildlife, like just everywhere you go. Like, and the thing with the fires was like when we were burning, like the amount of like insects and bugs that you see like from the fires, and the kites flying in the air catching the bugs like that are coming past you. And
Serious?
Yeah, and it's just, there's stories like some of the Indigenous fellas say that the kites will actually pick up bits of sticks and go and drop them somewhere where the fire's not burning so that they can go and get their food. Like, and they said like you might have a fire under control and then 10 minutes later it's burning like a K away, and you're like, how did that get there? And it's because this bird's taken the stick over. Yeah. So they're clever in the way that they use their environment. But they also say that they're lazy because they're causing the fire so they can get an easy feed. But they're smart. And even with like so many crocodiles everywhere. Big old crocodiles. There's this one that lives near where the house is.
In the river?
Yeah, in the river near the house, and he is huge. Like he's so old, he's been there for so long, and they'll take cows and they'll take there's been photos of like you can see like the cattle on the side where there's like 1 or 2 crocs feeding on it, and then there's like a video I saw recently of this big croc carrying this massive Brahman cow, and the helicopter flies over the top and it drags the whole cow under the water and you can't even see it. Like that's how strong they are. Yeah, to take them. So, but that's another thing that we have to watch out for is all the water up there is just off limits. Like you just, even if it's a little tiny like creek in the middle of nowhere, you just don't trust it because they can be there. And that's a big thing with like the kids especially, is teaching them like you can't go in that water because
it's so hot. You just want to go in there for a quick swim.
Exactly. You just see it and you're like, oh, I could just go for a nice paddle just like quickly, but nah, you just can't risk it. Yeah.
So looking back, has your work as a stock person shaped your perspective on life and your own personal growth?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I don't know where I would have gotten to if I didn't do it. And I think even like my sister, I remember my sister telling me like when I first came back from being out in the station, when I first came back, she said to me like, you've changed so much in like that 6 months. Just, I think it just does it to you. Like you just be yourself. And I think I found out who I really was doing it. Like, and I don't really know what I would want to do if I wasn't doing it. Yeah.
Your outlook on life is just amazing. I just loved this chat.
Thank you.
You reckon I'd ever get your dad on a podcast?
No. No
what
way.
about we go away somewhere, some fishing rods and a few beers?
Probably then. You'd probably get some good stories too.
Ally Trigg, you are an inspiring and adventurous and beautiful young lady. Thank you so much for this chat. I've loved every minute of it.
That's been great.
And good luck for the next lot of ventures you're going to have.
Thanks.
And I'd love it if you could follow us on Facebook. Search Salt of the Earth Farm Stories.
Salt of the Earth Farm Stories is proudly brought to you by Grigg Media.